Welcome to the #1 spot health and wellness practitioners go to double their current income and turn their 10-hour work day into a 10-hour work week. Join us as we dive into the tips, tools, and tech you need to create a life and practice on your own terms. More freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, and of course, funds. It's time to build your online practice. And I'm your host, Michelle Rogers, also known as the Wealthy Woman. Be sure to subscribe for your weekly dose of education, inspiration, and action. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy November. If you are here and if you are new, we do Facebook Lives for first, second, and third Mondays of the month. The first Monday, we chat with other practitioners in this space who have either been in the Wealth Mentorship or graduated from the Wealth Mentorship, currently inside the Wealth Mentorship. And Lori's here to share some of her experience. She's currently inside of the Wealth Mentorship. And it's just super excited to have her here and to share her journey and kind of her before and kind of during and what's unfolding. And then we can kind of check in. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. So Lori, do you want to give a little brief intro of who you are, your background?
Yeah, sure. And thank you for having me. I was in this group before I started the mentorship. So I was watching, I watched another nurse practitioner, in this group, I think she's an alumni.
Was it Krista?
I can't remember her name. It was like a month or two ago.
Okay.
And she's also a family practice nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
And I think
so cool.
So I'm a family practice nurse practitioner. I guess background, I started in the hospital. Even though I always was into health and wellness and stuff, I got a job in the hospital, as a nurse and then as a nurse practitioner. And, it was I was in the ICU and I was going, okay, we should be able to help people keep from getting here, And so then part of it was because of a move. I transitioned to outpatient and I was working in a family practice. And then I was just seeing what I kept seeing was women coming in, most of them, a lot of times, after babies, 30s, 40s, even could have had babies years ago and just bodies weren't the same. I was doing everything I knew to do from a conventional standpoint but they weren't, and of course they weren't seeing any results. They weren't getting any better. We were trying, SSRIs and just diet and exercise. And that thankfully finally led me to find functional medicine. And then just did some different trainings along the lines, over the last couple of years until I found the mentorship. So.
Yahoo!
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Isn't it? I mean, it's so wild, just the backgrounds. And I feel like so many practitioners can relate to that story of just being I'm in this, I'm in the trenches, I'm doing the thing. And no one's actually getting better. And I'm actually getting sicker and they're getting sicker and no one's winning. No one is getting what they need. And it's just this thing that feeds itself. And it can be hard to step out of that because we've been so programmed to think that that's the only way or this is the right way. Right. And it's who says?
Yeah.
Who says that that's the right way or how things should be done? And this standard of care that's clearly not working. Right.
Well, and I can even speak to when I was my first job, for even my 5 years as a nurse and then another 6 as a nurse practitioner, we're in a teaching hospital, nonprofit. So that was a little bit different setting. And then when I went outpatient, I was in a private practice that was for profit. So there was this, you need to see this many patients a day, you need to be those quotas you have to hit. Then you're I have this much time with a patient. I can't. And I'm no wonder. And then you're limited by insurance. No wonder people end up just prescribing meds because you feel that's the thing you can do that's going to give an effect and make a person feel better. People they gave me a medication, so I'm going to feel better. But then they don't.
Yes.
So.
Oh, I feel like I just had this download of when you were saying that of just how many parallels that specific story has of I'm so overwhelmed. I'm just going to do the quick, easy thing. regardless of whether or not you actually get a result.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have like anything. Like I'm
Mhm.
completely unresourced.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to do this thing that like is the status quo or the
Yeah.
thing that I'm told or the thing that's accepted
Mhm.
instead of actually doing the right thing or instead of actually doing the thing that is most aligned with
Mhm.
either you as a practitioner or actually going to help your client or patient.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're super hungry and stressed and like, you know, you're juggling like 5 million things and you're like, just give me the salty, fat, crunchy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Rather than eating a meal that'll nourish your body and give you
Yeah.
energy. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Ah, ah.
Uh-huh.
So what else did you notice when you were in that sort of paradigm and like how did you manage being, because I know you're a mama, like I know
Mhm.
like how did you manage being in that type of environment and like what did that look like for you? How many days were you working, hours, like
Yeah. Well, that was part of my shift. So I went from, even before I met my husband and I was having kids, I knew like, okay, I don't want to work because I used to work in the ICU. I worked swing shift. I was nights, days, weekends, all over the place. So I
oh
was
my
like, okay,
god.
I'll go to outpatient and then my lifestyle will be a little bit better. But then it was still, and two, when I will say when I worked in the private practice, it was, very, I remember the whenever office managers or whatever he was saying to me, you eat what you kill, so like you see more patients, you'll make more money. But
Oh.
I never hit whatever that quota was, where I met my overhead plus whatever percentage and then I could actually make bonuses. Even though I worked in like 3 different areas in the clinic. I did primary care. Then I also like helped out in pain management clinic when they needed help. And I even first assisted in the OR for a little while because of my procedural background from the ICU. So I did some spine surgery for a little while.
Oh my god.
And it just was like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to do these things. They don't like give me life. I don't find joy from doing them. And like, so I cut back to part-time there. And then he actually like cut my pay. Um, and so I was making less money. I mean, what I was making hourly, I probably could make as a bedside nurse, like, if I was like just those like certain jobs, of course, you're going to make more money in the hospital. But I just was like, excuse me, but what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, like
seriously?
this.
But I
Like
just,
no.
yeah, my husband and I were like planning our wedding at that time. Or maybe no, maybe we had been married yet, but we had a house and a mortgage and all that. And I just felt like I couldn't just leave. I needed to so I stayed until I found something else part-time. But that was when during all that time, I found functional medicine and I started doing some online courses and things.
Starting to see that there's actually something
Yeah, and
else or like some other way to approach
yeah.
things or like actually help people.
But then that
Mm-hmm.
allure of working for myself and somebody not telling me that I'm not worth paying this anymore, essentially, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
is what that translated to. I mean,
Or
they
you're only
say that.
worthy if you see this many people, or you're only
Yeah.
worthy if you reach this
Yeah.
platform that I have created for you.
You've got to be,
And you can't go beyond this feeling that I've
this
created for
income
you.
level. Yep. You're not going to make more than that. Yeah. And
Oh,
or I think of in the hospital too, I remember there was different levels of pay and it was like the level, like, when I was there, we were a level 2. I think eventually they moved up to level 3, but level 3 was like the nurse practitioners and PAs that worked in neurosurgery that were on call. I mean, they worked like dogs. So it was like, if I wanted to make that amount of money, I had to be working at a pace where I would totally burn out and not be able to.
it's like slave labor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, wow, like you're forced to do all the like the dirty work and like really run your own health into the ground to try and meet this goal or this perceived idea of success. And then it's like, cool, maybe I reach it. And then what? I can't even
And
enjoy
then,
it
yeah,
because
then
I'm
I'm
like,
sick or yeah.
exactly. Like, wow. Like the fact that so many people, practitioners are fighting for that and that in that rat race, in that like keeping their head down and like, okay, this is what I gotta do. It's like its own
Yeah.
version of corporate, right? It's like
Yes.
cutthroat corporate,
Yeah.
but like in the health and wellness industry.
That's a good way to put it. Yes. That's a
Oh,
very good way to put it.
oh, yeah,
So.
man. Oh man, that is so intense. So what was your tipping point to be like, yes, you were dabbling in functional medicine. What was your tipping point to be like, all right, I'm gonna go out on my own. I'm gonna create my own thing. I'm gonna like do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I think part of it was might have been pregnant with my son. And there was just that, like, I want to be able to like make my own hours and have more autonomy, just have more control of my schedule and how I want to work. But I like didn't go all in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually worked with, like a business coach or mentor, prior to, finding the mentorship and it was more like a personal development. There was no clinical side to it, but she was like, you're playing small. You need to like go all in.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was actually just in March of this year, I was like, okay, I'm going to like full like telemedicine practice my own thing. And I just started taking the steps, probably messy steps. And I probably, you know, wasn't doing things like I should or like, oh, I need to get this in place. But I took the action and was like, okay, let's
Messy
do it.
actions where it's at, like
I
where
will,
it's at.
yeah. And I will say that the tipping point really with that. So the push of that mentor. And then two, I was pregnant with my daughter. And there was just something about like knowing when I found out she was a girl and just for some reason, it's like, I think my son's going to be more like my husband and she's going to be more like me. And I just felt like I'm not living my dreams and I'm not taking, like I'm playing
Oh,
small. And I just didn't
yeah.
want to model that to her. I was like, I can't like bring her
Mm.
into the world and like, mommy really wants to, not that I would say that to her, but just that's how I felt was like,
Totally.
I really had this bigger goal and bigger dreams and bigger visions that I just wasn't taking action on and just she was really a big inspiration to, okay, let's get moving.
I just got total chills.
So,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, you want to be like a good role model and like it's
Hmm.
someone for her to look up to and be like, damn, like I can do what I want to do, or I can create the reality or create
Yeah.
whatever it is. Oof,
Hmm.
I love that. And not be stuck in whatever sort of paradigm that
Yes.
mm,
Yeah.
so good. So when you started the mentorship, like what have you found? What has been your journey so far in that? And how
Yeah.
have things kind of been evolving for you? I know
Yeah.
you're like a rock star when it comes to videos, by the way.
Oh,
So you're
thank
so
you.
good. Yeah, you're so good.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say my biggest takeaway so far has just been your approach and how
Mm,
before I started the mentorship, I was working with clients, but I really didn't have the big picture when it came to my clients, I would say. I would like have a Dutch, a Dutch plus, or I did cycle mapping with a couple people and I would like, okay, we're seeing these markers, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe I would have a Dutch and a GI map, but not knowing how to put all the pieces of information together and then create an effective protocol too. I think that was my biggest draw was like, I don't know that I know how to help my clients really get the results they want. And I needed that help. And I really loved, on your Facebook lives or different things I saw from you. I got just how you put things together and you like, hey, let's check all of the tests at one time, get the picture, and then let's create a protocol that's really going to give people an effective treatment plan. That was really a draw for me because I didn't feel like I got that from other courses and training that I got. I learned, I think you say this maybe in the GI map module, but the first time I learned GI map, it was a very line by line. Okay, there's this organism, let's give this med, this organism, let's give this med, rather than looking at the full picture. And it's amazing now because I've not been in the mentorship that long. And I just had a consult with someone today who's going to come on, as a client. And she had been to a functional practitioner before. And I did a consult with her today where I went through all of her stuff. And that's probably kind of what happened with her, was she was working with a practitioner who was not able to look at the full picture. There was a few things that they missed probably in testing. Um, and of course she's like, I worked with this person for 6 months. I invested, or it might be more. She told me she invested like $6,000, and she's like, they want me to do more testing, but I haven't seen any results. So I don't know why, why there's no draw, or, she wants to feel better, but she
Yeah.
doesn't want to go keep doing what they're doing because she's not feeling any
Oh my
better.
God. Oh my gosh.
So
Like I feel for her so much. And
yeah.
that's such a common story. Like it was really
Mhm.
common for me to have private clients who've been to numerous functional docs or numerous naturopathic doctors.
Mhm.
And it's because they're not looking at the labs in like a holistic way, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at it very reductionistic. And it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
you can go to someone who can run the lab or order the lab, but if they don't know how to interpret it and apply
Mhm.
it,
Yes.
what help is that?
Yeah. Mhm. Well, and I
Yeah.
even talked, yeah, there was like a friend, kind of like a woman that's in the like personal development mentorship group I was in. She reached out and kind of same thing. She's like, I've been working with this functional practitioner and I'm not seeing the results. And I kind of talked her through like, okay, they need to be looking at the whole picture. They need to be, and she's like, I think that's what's happening, is like, they're not, looking at the full picture. So that it really has been just such a game changer, one for me, and then two for the people I'm helping.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
so yeah, it's been
How
awesome so far.
awesome. Oh, that's so good to hear that. I mean, I'm super, super passionate about labs. And it's just like, I was having a
Mhm.
conversation. Actually, I'm like redoing my website. And so the people who I'm working with, they're getting more and more familiar with what I do. And so I had like the ability to kind of interact with them and like kind of explain stuff to them. And they're just, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like once you start explaining this stuff to people and you can, you have it in a way that you can explain it pretty fluidly and to people who, aren't super sciencey, it totally makes sense. And that part where it like clicks and it makes sense is what helps with
Mhm.
that client compliance and follow through and
Yeah.
results
Yes.
so much because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, now you're actually not just validating what I'm feeling and what I'm
Mhm.
experiencing, but like I see it on paper. Now we have something to work with. And now I know why you're making the recommendations that you're making. And,
Yeah.
you're not giving me shopping bags full of supplements for who knows why, but
For
like you
what? Yeah.
actually have like a plan in place, a strategy
Mhm.
in place of like, cool, this is what we're focusing on right now. And we're focusing on it because this is what we're seeing and it correlates with how you're feeling in this way. And then everybody's like, yes, that all makes sense. Like as the
Yeah.
practitioner, you're like, I feel super confident and good about this. And the client's
Yes.
like, I feel super confident and good about this. And then it's
Yes.
just like, amazing. Let's
Mhm.
go together down this journey,
Hmm. Well, and I think it even helps from like a sales perspective too, because then I can confidently tell them that I can help. And I really do think I can help them. Before I was like, oh, we can do these tests. And like I didn't have the confidence that I was able to really help people see results. And I was just thinking too, while you were talking, Monday's a big client day for me because of childcare and all that. And I have two ladies today that I talked to that are like 3 to 4 weeks in. So they've been doing adrenal restoration and, boosting secretory IgA, both of them. And they're both like, yeah, I feel less stressed and I'm sleeping better and I have more energy. And I'm like, this is all, it just is so rewarding to hear that, back from them. Like,
I love that. And
yeah.
you're so right. Like those results, it's like quick wins, right? And
Hmm.
now the protocols, the kind of approach, like you're getting your feet wet in there. It's not crazy complex. So the fact
No.
that client that you were referring to before was not getting any results after 6 months of working with a
Yeah.
functional dog, you're just like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
were they
She was
doing?
doing like IV glutathione. Basically
Oh,
they were like doing IV glutathione. She was doing it's called I forget. It's something ozone, like ozone treatment stuff. Like a bunch of detox stuff.
way too invasive right off the bat.
But they weren't, yeah, that no one really, she was on a couple supplements that were helping. Like she had her estrogen detox kind of sucked. She, was sluggish. She was favoring like 5 alpha preference on her Dutch. So they had her on like saw Palmetto. They had her on some hormone balance stuff, but there was nothing in her protocol to
Addressing the
support her
root.
adrenals. Yeah, there was, no,
Mm-mm,
and her DHEA was super high. Nothing
mm-mm.
to support her adrenals. And looking back at her history, she was telling me all these things, and I was like, oh my gosh, you've had adrenal issues for a long time.
Mhm.
Like 2014, so what's that? 8 years now.
I'm sorry, like
And
as a functional practitioner, if you're calling yourself a functional practitioner, if you're overlooking adrenal exhaustion or adrenal fatigue, adrenal dysfunction, whatever you want to
whatever you
call
want to
it,
call it. Yeah.
like, hello.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Well, in
hello.
the gut test they used, there was no, even though she had, like, I don't know how, it's not a gut test I've used, but nothing was really done from a gut standpoint too, which she had elevated beta glucuronidase. So she's obviously got some bacteria in there, anyways,
And detox
there,
issues for sure. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but you
So
don't want
they're
to just
just,
like start pumping people with glutathione. Like we also know, like maybe she doesn't tolerate glutathione. Maybe she needs
yeah,
precursors.
yes,
Like,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
But
So
even
yeah,
still, it's like you don't want to mobilize the toxins if there's intestinal permeability. So like, ah.
yeah. So, and just, I mean, I don't feel like I'm not nearly as experienced, that as you are, but at least I could look at that and go, okay, there's some basic things they didn't do, and
They overlook.
that's
Yes.
probably why you don't feel good yet.
Yes.
Because I
And
have
how
people
like
feeling good already, and we've only been in 3 weeks now.
how empowering and like your ability to embody that and be
Yeah.
like as a practitioner who's somewhat new in this realm, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
like a different, like a refinement, a pivot, whatever you want to call it, but it's like,
Yeah.
holy whoa. Like I'm seeing someone's coming to me who's supposedly been to X amount of functional medicine practitioners and I
Yeah.
found something or identified something or like saw something
Yeah.
that they didn't see. Like, wow, all right.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
okay, like bring
Okay.
it on.
I know some stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I love that. Amazing, amazing. Is there anything else that you want to share about your journey inside the mentorship or like anything at all that's been helpful or
I
no
would say
pressure?
just take action. Shoot, that was my, I wish I just would have started sooner. If I look back,
Mm,
I think that there just was hesitation around like, can I do this? Could I make a career out of this? And,
mhm,
oh, investing money or, things like that. I mean, I think we can have and what I would say I see in other people in the mentorship too,
mm,
and I've seen in other settings, even I have a friend that's like more, physical therapist and she's like, trying to build this new thing and just you can kind of get stuck in perfectionism and just like, well, I have to know everything before I
mhm,
start helping people. And I have to, but I just think of when I was I was in NP school and then I, was done and I was working in clinical practice. And I remember one of the doctors I, trained under was like, all right, go assess that patient and come back and tell me. And I remember just being like, oh my God,
So
do I know enough? But like you have to start working with people to learn.
totally.
And you have to take action. You can't just stay, you're just going to waste time. I guess if you stay stuck in indecision and stuck in inaction. And if I could change anything about my journey, it would have been to just, not let perfectionism hold you back and just
Mm.
keep moving forward, keep taking action because you'll figure it out and you'll pivot. Cause I feel like I've done that. I took this course, which led me to this course, which led me to this course. And you take action and then you learn what the next step is. So
Totally, totally. And also like being in a group container like the mentorship, it's like, yeah, even if you're just starting out, because I know there's practitioners watching this right now because you've reached out to me who are like, I don't know if I can do it because I like don't have any experience at all with functional labs. And it's like, that's why you get to be in a container where we get to hold you and like you get to actually
yeah.
share case studies and like we get to go over labs together and like this is
Mhm.
your like clinical sort of case study grand rounds kind of thing
Yeah.
where you get to learn. Like the whole thing is about learning and learning
Yeah.
together, and so I think that piece is fun.
Yes. Well, and I think people are interested too. Like like half my family members probably have had functional labs done now. And My mom, all we did with my mom was a GI map and a GI protocol. It was before the mentorship. Her migraine, she was having up to 20 migraines a month and she's down to one a month just with improving her gut.
Whoa.
And I
Oh
think
my
that
gosh.
and now it's cyclical.
Amazing.
So I'm like, we need to take a look at your hormones and, so,
Amazing.
but you
It's a
can
game
learn,
changer. Game changer.
yeah, learn on, I mean, I just think of like all these, we were talking earlier too, just I've got some other family members that have had some hormonal problems. And one in particular had a hysterectomy, like super, super young, like in her 30s. And I'm like, oh God, I wish I could have like
Right.
helped, but of course you need people
Right.
where you're at. But anyways, all that to say, your family and your friends, you tell them what you're doing, you test yourself, you test your friends and family, and you get comfortable with it. And then
Yeah,
next thing you know, you got a handful of clients you're working with.
exactly. Exactly. And you're changing lives, saving lives.
Exactly.
So perfect. Thank you so much, Lori. This was fun. I like your energy is awesome. I love having you in the mentorship. I'm so glad you decided to join us. And I'm just so excited to continue like watching things unfold for you. Remind me what module you're in again.
I just had riches in the niches. So 5,
okay,
right?
Perfect. The module 5, yeah perfect.
Which
okay,
I
great.
did. I think I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna niche down a little more. I think this is my specific, ideal client. So
perfect.
Good.
Feel free to pop it in the Slack group. I'll give you feedback. So don't hesitate to do that. Yeah. Amazing. There's so much fun stuff ahead too. It's like once you get your niche, then we're gonna do your offer creation, get into social media. Like, so good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take care. Have a beautiful evening, and I will chat with you soon. And I think what I'll do is I'll put your Instagram handle in the comments. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah. People, feel free. I'm always happy to chat with people if anybody wants to, ask about my experience or anything like that.
Cool. So. All right. Take care. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
All right, that's a wrap for today. If you want the exact breakdown of how I help practitioners go from their first 5K to consistent 50K months with just 2 offers, 10 hours per week, and an audience of less than 500 people, be sure to click the link in the podcast description or head to wealthywoman.co/breakdown. To make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe. And for daily online practice insights, follow me on Instagram at wealthywoman.co. Let's create your life of wealth, full of abundance, purpose, health, wealth, and joy.